Imagine a whisper from a 3,000-year-old tomb. At first it's barely audible, but it quickly turns deadly. Just months after a pharaoh's golden resting place is unsealed, the first man dies. Not from a trap, but from a mosquito bite. Coincidence? Or did something ancient and malevolent awaken? Egypt as Valley of the Kings, a land of legend and silent god-kings, was about to surrender its greatest secret. After years of searching, British archaeologist Howard Carter discovered the intact tomb of Tutankhamun. Inside, gold, jewels, and thousands of artifacts offering a vivid glimpse into Egypt's golden age. But alongside the wonder, fear crept in. Soon after the tomb was opened, mysterious deaths began to haunt those involved. The legend of the Pharaohs' Curse exploded into the headlines. Was it supernatural revenge, or something more scientific? Today we're digging deeper. What really happened? Who were the so-called victims? And does any truth hide beneath this eerie legend? The discovery that shook the world, Howard Carter believed one royal tomb still lay hidden in the Valley of the Kings. Most thought the area was exhausted, but Carter persisted. Backed by wealthy patron Lord Carnarvon, he launched what was meant to be his final season. On November 4th, 1922, a water boy stumbled on a buried step. Carter's team unearthed a staircase and a sealed doorway intact. He cabled Carnarvon immediately. At last a made wonderful discovery. 3 weeks later, Carnarvon and his daughter arrived in Luxor. On November 26th, Carter broke through to the tomb's antechamber and peered inside. "Can you see anything?" Carnarvon asked. "Yes," Carter whispered. "Wonderful things. Golden couches, alabaster vases, chariots, and statues lay untouched. It was a treasure beyond imagination." The burial chamber held an even greater marvel. 3 nested golden coffins, and the boy king's mummified body, crowned by the now iconic death mask. Tutankhamun's tomb became a worldwide sensation. But not long after, the whisper of a curse began to overshadow the discovery's brilliance. The first death, and the legend begins, just months after the tomb was opened. Lord Carnarvon died from an infected mosquito bite. Reports claimed the lights in Cairo flickered out at his moment of death, and that his dog back in England howled and dropped dead. Whether true or exaggerated, it was perfect fuel for a public hungry for mystery. More deaths followed. George J. Gould I, who visited the tomb, died of pneumonia. Sir Archibald Reed, who X-rayed the mummy, died unexpectedly. Hugh Evelyn White, a young archaeologist, took his own life, allegedly blaming the curse. Arthur Mace, a key member of Carter's team, died after a long illness. Each incident seemed to reinforce the curse. Newspapers eagerly collected these stories, transforming tragedy into myth. The media made the curse. The press turned Tutankhamun's tomb into front-page news. Headlines screamed of revenge and ancient wrath. The public was already obsessed with ancient Egypt. Now they were terrified. Writers like Marie Corelli and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle lent their voices. Corelli warned of dire consequences before Carnarvon's death. Conan Doyle blamed elementals, spiritual guardians of the tomb. The curse made for irresistible copy. Tragedy was inevitable in a team of aging, globe-trotting archaeologists, but now every illness was Tutankhamun's revenge. Even minor misfortunes like a twisted ankle or a cold were whispered about as further proof. Was there ever a curse inscription? Strangely, there was no actual curse written in the tomb. Despite popular claims, no inscription warned of death or revenge. Howard Carter, meticulous in his records, insisted no curse was found. Some lines from non-royal tombs do contain threats, warnings about disturbing the dead or invoking the wrath of gods like Anubis. But in Tutankhamun's case, nothing of the sort. The famous line, "Death will come on swift wings," was likely invented by journalists or misattributed. The real power of the curse wasn't carved in stone. It lived in the imagination. Science Versus. Superstition Dr. Mark Nelson's 2002 study tracked the lifespans of those connected to the tomb. Of 25 individuals directly involved, most lived into their 70s. Carter himself died in 1939, years later of lymphoma. Lady Evelyn Herbert lived to 78. Alfred Lucas, the chemist who preserved the artifacts, died at 79. Hardly the victims of a deadly hex. Statistically, the death rate wasn't abnormal. Many of the deceased were older or had pre-existing conditions. In early 20th century Egypt, infections were common and antibiotics were rare. Coincidence, not curses, seemed far more likely. Could the tomb have been a biohazard? Still, some scientists believe there's another explanation: mold. Tombs sealed for centuries create ideal conditions for mold and bacteria. Fungi like Aspergillus flavus can lie dormant, only to release spores when disturbed. Inhaling these spores can trigger respiratory issues or infections, especially for someone like Carnarvon, who already had lung damage. Modern archaeologists now use protective gear when entering sealed environments. But Carter's team had no such precautions. Add in the desert's microbial dangers, poor sanitation, and limited medicine, and the tomb's mystique becomes a lot more microbial than magical. What about Howard Carter? If anyone should have suffered from a curse, it was Howard Carter. He opened the tomb, catalogued its treasures, and examined the mummy firsthand. Yet Carter lived 17 more years, dying of cancer at 64. No sudden illness, no mysterious accidents. He rejected all talk of curses, calling them nonsense. Many others directly involved also lived long lives. The idea of selective punishment by an ancient king doesn't hold up. Why we still believe, so why does the Pharaohs' Curse endure? Because it's a great story. Ancient Egypt is already steeped in mysticism, mummies, gods, eternal life. Add a sudden death and dramatic headlines, and it becomes legend. The story taps into deep fears: death, the unknown, cosmic justice. The boy king's tomb wasn't just a find, it was a moment frozen in time, a reminder of how small we are next to history. Movies, books, and pop culture kept the curse alive. The real curse wasn't death, it was myth passed from generation to generation, long after the last artifact was boxed and sent to a museum. The legend of the Pharaoh's Curse was born from real tragedy, stoked by a sensational press, and preserved by our hunger for mystery. But the evidence points to a different truth. No ancient spell, no divine retribution, just fragile human bodies encountering ancient air, mold, coincidence, and a whole lot of media spin. The real story is even more incredible. A tomb sealed for millennia, opened by determined explorers, offering a priceless window into one of the greatest civilizations in history. That's the magic, and it's very real. Still curious about what else lies beneath Egypt's sands? Hit like, subscribe, and join us on more deep dives into the world's most captivating mysteries. Let us know in the comments, do you think there is more to the curse than science can explain?